Hey everyone, welcome back to the Is It Worth Watching show. Today, Jill and I are diving into a fascinating piece discussing the enigmatic personality and political journey of Donald J. Trump, along with a dream team of extraordinary individuals like Elon Musk and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Stick around as we break it down for you. Music. So, Jill, let's dive into the whirlwind that was Donald Trump's first presidency. What was your initial reaction when he took office?
Honestly, Jake, it felt like reality TV had taken over real life politics. I was skeptical, to say the least. Like, was this just a huge publicity stunt?
Totally get that. I mean, his rise felt like an improbable plot twist in a movie no one saw coming.
Right. And those first few months, it was chaos mixed with sheer spectacle. I couldn't decide whether to be entertained or deeply worried.
All right, Jill, let's dive into Trump's background in construction. It's one of those aspects that often gets overshadowed by his time in the White House and on reality TV.
Absolutely, Jake. The man built quite the empire in a notoriously tough industry. Navigating construction in cities like New York and Chicago is no small feat. It's dog eat dog with all the corruption and red tape.
Exactly. Anyone who's done even a small renovation knows how quickly things can spiral out of control. Imagine doing that on a massive scale and still making a name for yourself.
And doing so while keeping projects on time and within budget, that takes a serious level of dedication and attention to detail.
Now, Jill, let's dive into this whirlwind of celebrity success. Remember that moment when Donald Trump shifted from being a construction mogul to a full-blown media sensation?
Oh, absolutely, Jake. His stint on The Apprentice really skyrocketed him into a different realm of fame. It's not every day you see a real estate developer become a household name through reality TV.
Exactly. And it's fascinating how he leveraged that visibility to his advantage. The marketing genius behind it is undeniable. He managed to create a brand that transcended typical business success.
For sure. It's a perfect example of how media presence can amplify one's persona. From self promotion, he became a figure people either love or love to hate, but they definitely know him.
So, Jill, let's dive into this idea of personality traits and entrepreneurial prowess. Isn't it fascinating how some people seem naturally wired to juggle multiple ventures successfully?
Absolutely, Jake. I think it boils down to a mix of high extroversion and openness, which seems to fuel their creative ideas and drive.
Totally, and it's not just about having ideas, but also the conscientiousness to see them through. Remember how Trump's ability to manage big construction projects underlined his attention to detail?
Yes, and that's echoed in Elon Musk's engineering marvels too. Their personalities seem to align perfectly with the high stakes world of entrepreneurship, don't you think?
Wow, that was quite the chunk to process. Let's start with one of the more interesting points, Trump's humor. Jill, have you ever considered how his sense of humor shapes public perception and his appeal?
Absolutely, Jake. Trump's humor is a huge part of why he resonates with certain groups. It's biting and ruthless, but undeniably effective at times. It gives him this man of the people vibe, especially with working class folks who appreciate straightforward banter.
Right. And it's fascinating because it contrasts sharply with the typical political mold. Leaders rarely show that level of rawness and humor. It's like he drops the politician mask to connect on a more personal level, which might be why so many find his approach so refreshing, albeit polarizing. Wow, Jill. So there's an interesting take on Trump, a comparison about his humor and approachability versus the cold, humorless nature of historical dictators. That really paints him in a different light, doesn't it?
Absolutely, Jake. The point about humor being a rare trait among dictatorial figures like Stalin or Hitler is fascinating. It suggests that Trump's ability to engage with people in a more comedic and relatable way sets him apart from those authoritarian leaders.
Yeah, it almost humanizes him a bit more, doesn't it? It makes you think about how he interacts with the working class and military folks. They're often drawn to his rough, but genuine sense of humor.
And that same humor might actually serve as a buffer against the harsher accusations of narcissism. It's interesting to consider how relatability factors into perceptions of leadership.
So, Jill, let's dive into Trump's ability to connect with the working class,
Absolutely, Jake. It's fascinating how a billionaire from New York can resonate with everyday folks.
right? It's a paradox, but he manages to speak their language. His no-nonsense, straightforward demeanor seems to strike a chord with many.
And let's not forget his humor, as rough as it can be. It's relatable, and for a lot of people, it's refreshing compared to polished political talk.
Definitely. Plus, his background in the high-stakes, gritty world of construction definitely boosts his credibility among those who know how tough and relentless that industry can be. Wow, Jill. Let's dive into analyzing Trump's agreeableness and compassion, because honestly, it's like trying to decipher a complex code, isn't it?
Absolutely, Jake. On the surface, Trump comes across as harsh, perhaps even a bit of a bully with his impolite humor and assertive nature. But if you dig a bit deeper, there's evidence suggesting a pretty substantial degree of compassion.
Yeah, it's interesting because he's often portrayed as this larger-than-life, narcissistic figure. However, people who know him personally, even those who aren't politically aligned with him, have described him as hospitable and caring in private.
And that's fascinating, isn't it? It seems like his public persona might be masking a deeper layer of empathy and concern for ordinary people, particularly the working class.
Exactly. He's shown he can relate to soldiers and policemen in a way most politicians can't, which speaks to a certain raw, unpolished agreeableness. It's like he's rough around the edges, but has a genuine care for people underneath. So, Jill, let's dive into something that I found really intriguing: Trump's conscientiousness and his work ethic. It's fascinating to consider how the guy doesn't drink or use any recreational drugs. That's a choice that says a lot about his commitment to staying sharp and alert.
Absolutely, Jake. And the fact that he's up at 5:30 a.m. daily and works until midnight, it's a testament to his industrious nature. Managing multiple businesses, writing books, and maintaining a public persona, it's not something you can pull off without a serious work ethic.
Right? And it's not just the hours he keeps. It's also about the discipline needed to juggle those massive, varied projects. Think about it: 19 books, reality shows, skyscrapers in New York and Chicago. The man is essentially a whirlwind of activity. So, Jill, let's dive into Trump's tenure as president. Some argue that his time in office was marked by significant economic growth and peace, especially on the international front.
Absolutely, Jake. Others point to the success of the Abraham Accords as a highlight, showcasing his ability to facilitate peace agreements that many thought impossible.
Right, but we can't ignore the controversies either, particularly his polarizing communication style and the numerous scandals that surrounded his administration. There were certainly mixed reviews on his handling of domestic issues as well.
True, it's a complex legacy, combining strong achievements with notable criticism. The debates around his presidency are as vivid now as they were during his tenure.
Wow, Jill, the topic of Trump's administration is certainly a polarizing one. But one thing we can't overlook are the Abraham Accords. I mean, think about it: getting multiple Arab nations to agree on peace with Israel. That's historic stuff right there.
Absolutely, Jake. Those agreements were monumental. It's almost unheard of to see such strides towards peace in that region. What's more, these accords held even after the tensions flared up again in 2023, which really says something about their strength and the groundwork laid during Trump's presidency.
Right? It's like he brought something fresh to the table that decades of traditional diplomacy couldn't achieve. Whether you love him or hate him, those peace agreements are undeniably a significant part of his legacy. And isn't it interesting how they stood firm even when many predicted they'd collapse under pressure? So, Jill, let's dive into something a bit more personal. Trump's family, particularly his children, seem to reflect a lot about him, don't you think?
Absolutely, Jake. Despite the media frenzy always hunting for scandals, Trump's children have largely remained out of any major controversies. It's like they're scandal-free, especially when you compare them with other political families.
Yeah, it's almost as if their stability and behavior are a hidden testament to his character. I mean, if he were truly the chaotic, narcissistic figure some paint him to be, wouldn't that chaos affect his family more visibly?
Exactly. The fact that his kids are quite stable and seem to genuinely admire him suggests there's more to his personality than meets the eye. Trump's no stranger to roughness in public, but perhaps in private, he's a more nurturing patriarch than we might assume.
This is some wild stuff, Jill. Have you heard about what they're calling the Trump X-Men team?
Oh, absolutely, Jake. It's like someone took a comic book and turned it into a political strategy. We've got Donald Trump teaming up with a league of super-driven individuals. Think Elon Musk, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and Tulsi Gabbard, just to name a few.
It's fascinating, really. Each person on this team brings such a unique set of talents and personalities. Imagine Elon Musk tackling government inefficiency or RFK Jr. taking on health crises. It's almost too intriguing not to watch. Hey, Jill, can you believe how Elon Musk manages to juggle so many groundbreaking projects at once? I mean, SpaceX, Tesla, Neuralink, and now even Twitter. He's like a real-life Tony Stark.
Absolutely, Jake.
Totally. And despite his genius, he's surprisingly relatable with his quirky humor and occasional Twitter controversies. It's a blend, technical genius with a touch of road charm that keeps everyone hooked.
Plus, his ability to challenge and reimagine industries is something else. Just look at how he's transformed electric vehicles and space travel. It's like he's not just part of the future, he's actively creating it.
Wow, Jill, can we just take a moment to talk about Robert F. Kennedy Jr. as personality? For someone who's practically American royalty, he's incredibly grounded.
Absolutely, Jake. He's got this dynamic energy that's almost manic, but in an inspiring way. His ability to dive into historical facts and connect them to current issues is just unparalleled.
Totally. You can tell he genuinely cares about the issues he talks about. He's been a fearless advocate for battling big corporations, especially those impacting public health.
And his respectful approach during conversations really stands out. Remember that anecdote about him seeking permission to join a private dinner? It says a lot about his considerate nature.
So, Jill, let's dive into Tulsi Gabbard's personality and her potential role in this hypothetical Trump X-Men team. I have to say, she stands out as someone who brings a different kind of energy to the table.
Absolutely, Jake. She's got this steady, down-to-earth vibe, likely stemming from her military background, that can really balance out some of the more eccentric personalities in the group. Her low neuroticism and high conscientiousness make her someone who's not only stable, but also incredibly reliable in high-pressure situations.
Right, and it's not just her military experience, but also her straightforwardness and genuine compassion that make her such a grounding presence. I can totally see her being the glue that holds this eclectic team together while also offering a fresh perspective.
Plus, her commitment to service and patriotism can really resonate with people. She's someone who connects on a human level, and that's such a needed quality in leadership, especially in a team as dynamic as this one.
Wow, Jill, when it comes to Vivek Ramaswamy's personality and political style, it's hard not to be intrigued, right?
Absolutely, Jake. Vivek's got this vibrant energy and intellectual curiosity that's pretty rare in politics.
Yeah, he's incredibly assertive and enthusiastic. Not to mention, he's always coming up with new ideas. You can definitely see his entrepreneurial roots in the way he tackles political discussions.
Plus, he's got that balance of being polite and measured, which really helps him stand out in debates. He's sharp but without the rough edges.
And let's not forget, his low neuroticism and high stress tolerance make him quite steady under pressure. That's a trait you'd want in someone tackling complex issues.
True, though sometimes his confidence can come off as brash, which has led to both positive and negative reactions. Still, he's shown an ability to adapt and learn quickly from his experiences.
So, Jill, is J.D. Vance the political genius we've been waiting for?
You know, Jake, Vance's intelligence is undeniably impressive. I mean, pulling himself up from the Appalachian backwoods to Yale Law School isn't exactly a small feat.
Absolutely. And his book, Hillbilly Elegy, really shows his profound understanding and empathy for the working class.
Right, and don't forget how he handled that debate with Governor Walz. He defended Trump better than Trump himself, and that's saying something.
It's interesting, too, the way he holds his temper and remains calm under pressure. That kind of stability is rare.
Agreed. Vance might just have the perfect blend of brains, empathy, and grit to really shake things up in politics.
Jill, can you believe this idea of a Trump X-Men team? On one hand, it sounds like a Hollywood blockbuster, but the risks involved are no joke.
Right, Jake. While the creativity and brilliance of this group are undeniable, having such strong-willed and charismatic figures together could lead to intense power struggles. It's like putting too many alphas in one pack.
Exactly. Plus, with personalities so used to pushing boundaries, there's a genuine concern they might overstep in ways that could backfire spectacularly. The potential for innovation is huge, but so is the potential for chaos. Wow, Jill, that was a whirlwind of an analysis. So, let's bring it home for our listeners. What do you think? Is this a team worth rallying behind?
Absolutely, Jake. I mean, it's hard not to get excited about the idea of these six powerhouses taking the political stage. The potential for dynamic change is immense. If you're a listener who wants to see something truly groundbreaking, now's the time to get involved.
Totally, Jill. This could be a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to witness a uniquely innovative administration. If the idea of a Trump X-Men team resonates with you, don't just sit back and hope for change. Be a part of it. Get out there and vote, volunteer, and spread the word.
And remember, every single effort counts. This isn't just about watching from the sidelines. It's about playing an active part in what could be a revolutionary moment in politics. Let's make it happen.
Wow, Jill. That was quite a deep dive into Trump's personality and potential team for his next presidential run. What do you think about the whole idea of the Trump X-Men team?
Honestly, it's a fascinating perspective. The idea of pulling together such diverse and influential figures like Elon Musk, RFK Jr., and Tulsi Gabbard under one administration is really something. It almost sounds more like a movie plot than real politics.
Totally. And the breakdown of each person's traits and potential contributions added a lot of insight. It's hard not to imagine the kind of change a group like that might bring. Do you think it's a realistic possibility, though?
It's intriguing but quite ambitious. The personalities involved are strong and could either result in a dynamic and effective administration or lead to clashes. But isn't that part of the excitement?
Absolutely. The unpredictability is a big part of what makes the idea so compelling. I guess only time will tell, but it does make the upcoming election season something to closely watch.
For sure. And with that, we've wrapped up our discussion on this fascinating content. If you enjoyed this analysis, don't forget to subscribe to the Is It Worth Watching channel. You won't want to miss our next episode.